Southern Miss is going to the fabled Arkansas State. All right. Arkansas State's been pretty solid at home this year, right? Their only loss at home, I believe their only loss at home, correct me if I'm wrong, CD, was to Iowa State. And that was a game that they should have won. The referees absolutely robbed our Red Wolves of that game. That was ridiculous. That was like the biggest ref job of all time. I know like no one watching this. Actually, there are probably a lot of Arkansas State
Brett
fans
watching this.
that probably watched that game. And hopefully you agree with us because that was ridiculous. Southern Miss is really good, guys. Like Braylon Braxton is phenomenal. This defense is good. All right. They find ways to win. They've had to find ways on the road too, right? Obviously, the Louisiana Tech game is a bit of a blemish, even though they outgamed them by 200 yards and were 7 of 17 on third down, right? And dominated the time of possession. They still lost by 10. I will never understand how that happened, but the Georgia Southern scare, you kind of controlled that game for basically the entire time until the end of the game there. But I, Arkansas State's been great at home. Southern Miss has had some hiccups on the road. I still think that the Southern Miss team, though, is really good. But this is so important because, I mean, the winner of this game controls their own destiny in the Sun Belt West.
Without a doubt. I mean, well, first of all, we love it's classic appreciation for the Sun Belt and their divisions. Every single time we got to give them their props. This is a huge game, especially after what Arkansas State did last week. You look at the standings right now, like winning this game will control their own destiny, especially Arkansas State, who won't have to play Troy or Southern Miss remaining on their schedule. It opens up with Louisiana at home and App State on the road. Southern Miss, a little bit different there. I think they still have to play Troy, which is fine. I mean, it'll be a great game for us to watch, as well as Texas State at South Alabama. A little bit more talent of the rest of that schedule. Nonetheless, though, this is a massive spot here for you for the Sun Belt West to go out and face, presumably, James Madison, unless Coastal Carolina has something to say about that. But yeah, man, what Arkansas State last week, I don't know if that's really sustainable. I mean, how many sacks did you have? It was like 8 or 9 against Troy. Like that was a massive amount there. You're going to have to run the football here in this game. You cannot be too reliant upon Jalen Raynor like you've been all year. You haven't gotten bit in the Sun Belt really for that yet. Southern Miss defensively, for some of their flaws, right, in the running game, defensively, passing, like they're pretty darn good. They are very, very solid, especially for the Sun Belt there. Also, too, you talk about turnover margin. I understand it's a hard stat to like predict in a specific one, kind of outcome game, but I think it speaks to the type of games and the systems that these kind of come out and produce the turnover margin that is. Arkansas State has a -1 turnover margin. It's 78th in the country. Southern Miss is +12. As first in the FBS. Now, like, that has contributed to some of their wins for sure, but I think part of that is they're opportunistic. Like, they get a lot of interceptions, they get a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks, especially if you have a lot of, weight on the shoulders of Jalen Raynor, who is dynamic and incredible. But sometimes he can make bad decisions and take a lot of sacks, and you can have things where some things can kind of, roll downhill, and they can get really bad for you in this game at home if you're not careful. I like Southern Miss in this spot here. I don't love it just because Arkansas State is at home because Raynor is so freaking good and he can literally take over the second half, whatever it may be. But I think Braxton, the boys get it done for Southern Miss. Butch Jones and Charles Huff, like this is a great, great game here.
Yeah, look, no quarterback in the Sun Belt is asked to do more than Jalen Raynor. And you and I mean, dude, years we've been on the Jalen Raynor train. Years at this point. He's our guy. All right, at this point, he is our guy. Although Southern Miss is a team that I have been putting lots of money on with lots of success this year. And I think this is another situation where that could be the case. In games where like Jalen Raynor is the main focal point in that rushing attack, you look at games like South Alabama, right? You look at games like Texas State. Sure, they won those games with like serious Jalen Raynor magic, like classic Jalen Raynor magic. They were a little bit scary games, like that South Alabama game. You maybe probably shouldn't have won. Okay, the Kennesaw State game. I mean, you had a little bit more success running the football with your running backs, but it's it. Look, if you are just relying on him, I get that you have a really solid trio of receivers. I like. I love Corey Rucker as much as the next guy, Chauncey Cobb, right? What's his name? Hunter Simmons, Hunter Summer. Apologize. Wide receiver 3 there. I watched him. He looks really solid. But Chauncey Cobb, if he's your guy in the slot, you know, and he's running with Ian Foster, who's been phenomenal this year. Like the dudes that Southern Miss has in their secondary, the Ian Fosters, the Josh Modens, the Anthony Richardsons, right? That those guys, one, have been in the system. All three of those guys that I just mentioned were at Marshall, right, with Charles Huff, some dogs. Two, like what happens if Jalen Raynor, like those receivers can't separate the way that they're normally able to, and what happens like if Arkansas State just can't move the football the way that they want to with Jalen Raynor? Like you said, those negative plays, those sacks. And Braylon Braxton has been the best quarterback in the Sun Belt, right? I know Jalen Raynor has been asked more of, but Braylon Braxton has been incredibly efficient, right? 18 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's done it on the ground some too. I mean, he's just led an incredibly efficient offense in what is one of the better teams in the Sun Belt. If you ask me, it's them and James Madison right now. I think the only thing that makes it dicey for us, CD, in picking this game is the fact that Southern Miss is on the road and that Arkansas State is at home. But I like the matchup. I think the DBs for Southern Miss can run with these Arkansas State receivers. I think they can contain Jalen Raynor. And I think Southern Miss offensively is going to do what they do. I don't know if Jeffrey Pittman's going to play. I don't think it matters too much. I think he's like pretty solid as a runner, but Southern Miss has done it with and without him. So give me Southern Miss. Give me them -4.5. And I feel pretty good about that, to be honest. I feel pretty good.
Yeah, there's some history going back to when Huff was at Marshall and they played Arkansas State and Jalen Raynor a couple years ago. And obviously, it's just a little bit different there. There's some things going on. Obviously, new stadium, whatever, right? So can't really draw comparisons. But Raynor was not very efficient. 50% completion percentage. He needed 38 passes to get 260 yards. He threw an interception. Arkansas State did not run the football well. Marshall did run the football well, and they ended up getting a win. Obviously, it's been a couple years since that. That was back in 2023. That was when Cam Fancher was at Marshall. Since then, he's been FAU, UCF. I mean, been all over here. So I just want a little fun little anecdote there for our Sun Belt fans. Go down a little memory lane of
but context matters too. Like Charles Huff and Jalen Raynor have seen each other.
Yeah.
Right. Who does that benefit more? Probably the coach. Yep. Probably the coach. But yeah, just another layer to this lasagna of a Sun Belt game.